Hello, welcome to Classical Greek Latin. My name is Josh and I am the teacher for this course. This is the lesson number 6 for Greek, and that corresponds to chapter 4 in your book here. So, chapter 4. But this is Greek lesson number 6 on YouTube. So, today we're going to introduce the O stem for neutered nouns. And that, of course, will also enlarge our ability to use adjectives. So nouns come with a specific gender, and that noun will always be that gender, whether it is masculine, feminine, or neutered. And any given adjective will be able to match and change its gender to match the noun which is unchangeable in gender. So let's get started. It's a pretty simple lesson, actually. So as you read here, let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. All right, so as you see here, the O stem neuters. So we talked about O stem masculine. Now today we're talking about the neuters. These nouns have a nominative ending in on, and they differ from masculines only in the nominative singular and in the nominative and accusative plural. So we're basically only learning 3 new case endings for the nominative singular and for the nominative plural and the accusative plural. So you'll note with the neutered that, like I've said before, in some cases, we list, okay, let me just say it this way. The nominative and the accusative for the neutered in both the singular and the plural, nominative, accusative, nominative, and accusative, we write them out as you can see here. So doron, on, and then doron, on. So that's nominative and that's accusative, right? They don't list it here, but it is a nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, right? And then here you have dora for the plural, and then dora for the plural in the accusative, and then the same in the nominative. So another way of saying that is that in the neutered gender, there is no distinction between nominative and accusative, and whether or not a word is nominative or accusative in a sentence can only be determined by context, what makes the most sense. Okay, so let's jump into this real quick. So we have this paradigm here. I'm just going to let you, I would read through this and just take note of the endings. But what I'm going to do is write out the endings for you so you can see it without the words kind of creating distraction and confusion. So we'll simplify it to just the endings, and then we will decline tokalon pedion, the beautiful field, or the beautiful meadow, if you will. All right, so let's do this. Let me grab a piece of paper. And I'm going to write out what we know already from the O stem. So let's write our declension here. So we're going to have nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative. And we're going to have that in the singular form and in the plural form. Okay? All right. So we know our endings for the masculine are going to be os, and then the genitive is going to be u. The dative is going to be o, the subscript iota, and then the accusative is going to be on. Okay? So let's see here. So that's masculine. Normally, I didn't think ahead here, but normally, let me correct this so we are consistent moving forward in the future. Let's label this up here as masculine. Okay? And then we're going to now do the neutered. So this is the singular, and then we'll do the plural next. All right? So let me change my pen color here. So the only thing that's going to be different, I'll write it in red, is going to be the nominative is going to be on for the neutered. So you're not learning anything new for the singular except on in the nominative. Okay, and so you have u for genitive, o for dative, and then on for the accusative. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when you encounter these, like say u or o or on here, if you don't know what that word is when you're reading it in a real Greek text, you won't know right off the bat if it's a masculine or a neutered noun. It's not terribly important to know if it's masculine or neutered, but if you're trying to determine if something is, say, a subject or subject, nominative, or accusative, if you don't see an os in the sentence, yeah, you're just going to have to make sense of it. All right, let's go on. Let's do the plural. Okay, so we'll do the masculine first. Let's see here. So we're going to move that over so we're somewhat consistent here with our formatting. All right, so nominative plural is going to be oi for the masculine. Okay. On with that long omega for the genitive plural. Ois for the dative plural. And then us for the accusative plural. Okay. So let's do what's going to be the same in the neutered plural. It's going to be the genitive will be the same, and then the dative will be the same. All right, and then we'll put in red what is changing here. So in the neutered, now this is plural, where it's going to be an alpha. Okay. Alpha. So if you've been keeping up on memorizing your declensions, this chapter is very easy because you're only learning 3 new items. Okay. Let's do the definite article. Okay. So we will just write this in. Let's do definite articles. We'll just do them in green. All right. So the definite article for the masculine is going to be ho. And then tu, to, ton. I'm going to put a grav here on that definite article because you're going to have a grav when another word is following it, and you almost always have another word following a definite article. Okay, so now for let me see here. If I'm thinking about what color to use. It maybe help clarify this a little better. Yeah, let me go with red. So red will be our neutered here. So we're going to have to there like that. And then we're going to have to in the accusative, right? Like so. And I'll write in green to match the masculine, where it's going to be the same as the masculine. Okay. All right, so there's the singular, right? So again, as far as your definite article is concerned, you have your nominative and accusative is different because the accusative masculine, not definite article, has the nu there, which you don't have that here. Okay, so we'll do the definite article for the masculine first. So hoi, right? You have tone, tois, and then tus, like so. Okay, so let's do what is going to be the same in the neutered. So you have tone, All right, so you have ton, the neutered, plural, and then you have tois, which is going to be the same. And now what we're changing here is going to be, again, the nominative and accusative. So we're going to have ta, and I'm putting that grave accent there because you're always going to have a word following a definite article, almost always, and then ta here in the accusative plural. Okay. So the green and the black, you already know. So this is going to be, so the green is your definite article here, right? And then, well, and then the red is the new definite article for the neutered, right? But the green is the definite article that you already know, which is used also for the neutered. And then the red is the new definite article for the neutered that you've not learned yet. So to, nominative, accusative, ta, and that's singular. And then ta, nominative and accusative, but plural. Okay. So another way of thinking of this, charts like this declension chart is an artifice. It is it's artificially made. It's not. It's just a learning tool. It's like a way to learn the language. But another way you could think of this, and if this doesn't help you, just forget about it. But that the neutered and the masculine are indistinguishable from each other in the genitive and dative cases. Okay, this is just kind of fun stuff to think about language in a philosophical way. And then also, whereas in the masculine, the nominative and the accusative are distinguished from each other, in the neutered, which is neither male nor female, masculine or feminine, the nominative and the accusative are the same. They're indistinguishable, right? So that's just interesting to think about. But I hope that is helpful in helping you lay that out. But you have your endings, right? Endings here for your masculine, and then your neutered, singular. And then you have your endings here and endings here for your masculine and your neutered, plural. Okay? And then here you have your definite articles there. Okay? For your respective singular masculine, singular neutered, plural masculine, plural neutered. Okay? So with that in mind, let's go ahead and decline to kalon, pedion. And this is, so kalon is the adjective. Let me write this out so you can see what we're talking about. We are on page 10 still of your book. So we are going to decline, that is, we're going to write this word formation out. Now I'm just going to switch to black ink for everything. So we have to, kalon, pedion. Okay, so that means the beautiful field, the beautiful field or plain, meadow. Okay, but you get the idea. So here we have the noun. So to pedion. If you were to look this up in the dictionary, it would, or the lexicon rather, it would look like this. Okay, pedion, and then it comes from the omicron's declension. So your genitive is going to be u, but then your definite article is to. So the two things I tell you this is a neutered word is the on. Now this is the lexicon entry. So the first entry is always going to be nominative, and then the second ending is going to be genitive, followed by the definite article. So that on, that tells you it is neutered. That tells you the genitive. And then if there was any doubt, they give you the definite article, which is obviously neutered there. And then kalon is going to be in the lexicon like this. Okay. They probably won't have a grave there. Okay. We have not covered this explicitly yet, But note you have three genders here. You have, don't let that eta, don't think about the eta right now, but that is feminine. Don't worry about it right now. But you have your three genders here. Kalon, excuse me, kalos in the dictionary. So this is an adjective. So the first entry is going to be, my apologies. Your first entry is going to be masculine. And then instead of having a genitive ending next, remember an adjective has to be able to change its gender. So there are technically three genders to choose from. You have os for the masculine, and then you have a, that is eta, for the feminine ending, and then you have on for the neutered ending. Okay? So kalos can change because it's got to be able to describe nouns that appear in any form. Pedion is a noun, so it can't change, right? Because it's not modifying anything else. It's always being modified or described, right? Namely here the beautiful field. Okay? So this is a neutered, right? So we are changing kalos to be neutered as well, right? So to kalon pedion, okay? And this is all nominative, singular, neutered, okay? So I'll just write that out. So when you parse a word, this will be in your homework for this lesson. You have you start with the case, so it's nominative, singular, and it is neutered. Okay? So that's everything here is nominative, singular, neutered. Nominative, nominative, nominative. Singular, singular, singular. Neutered, neutered, neutered. The definite article, the adjective, and the noun, they all match because they all go together. Okay, now let's decline it. Okay, so we're going to write down our declension case endings. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. Okay, and now we don't have to specify the gender because this is all just neutered. So we're just going to do singular, and then we're going to do plural. Okay, so let us begin. And we will include the definite article here. So we're going to have to. Okay, so remember this is nominative, singular, neutered, so that's what we have, nominative, singular, and this is going to be neutered. This whole chart is neutered. So to kalon pedion. Now note, excuse me, we're not dotting I's, we are accenting over iotas in this case. All right, so note the accent rule for nouns and adjectives is it's persistent, right? So it's going to stay where it appears first in the lexicon, which is where you have it now. And it's going to stay there so long as it doesn't go outside of the three more or three syllable rule, okay? Okay. So we have the genitive to kalu. Now remember that grav is going to go to a circumflex because you're lengthening the end. Pedion. Oh, excuse me. There we go. And now that accent mark is going to stay there, right? Because you're still within the three more rule. Two mores under the diphthong omicron upsilon u, and then one under the iota, so we're not violating the three rule. So that accent can stay there. Okay, and it's going to stay there because of that. It's going to stay there the whole time. All right, and then you have to. Kalo. Pedio. Okay, so you have the beautiful field as the subject, the beautiful field of the beautiful field, and you have two or four the beautiful field. That's a tongue twister. Okay, now remember, this is neutered, so we're not going to say ton, right? It's going to be to again, just to match the nominative. And now we're going to write the nominative exactly like the accusative exactly like the nominative, right? Because to say it another way, they are indistinguishable in this gender. Okay, so you have kalon, pedion. Okay, so if you came across this set of words in a sentence, you would not know if it was nominative or accusative. So if you initially feel confused, nothing is wrong. there should be a little bit of confusion until you have time to see the context. Okay, let's go to the plural now. So we're just going to carry the nominative over. I'm not going to rewrite the cases over here. All right, so we have, now remember we have the plural, so it's going to be, can you think what it is? It is ta, right? With a grav, because there's a word that follows. Okay, so now it's going to be kala. That accent is going to stay there because that alpha is short. And then pe, dia. Okay. So the beautiful fields as the nominative subject. Okay, now we go to the genitive plural. This is where it's going to look like the masculine. And then that grav is going to change to a circumflex because it's on the last syllable, which is the syllable we're inflecting from short to long. Okay. What am I thinking here? Thinking about a lambda. Okay, we need a delta. All right, so pedion. Okay, and then the accent can stay there. Just like for the u. Omega has two mores just like u. So 2 mores under the omega, 1 under the iota. We are still within the 3 portion rule, so we're okay to just leave that there. Okay. Now we have tois. Halois. Circumflex. Pediois. Okay. Now we have ta. Now we're back to the accusative, same as nominative here. All right, we're just writing it out again for the sake of a learning paradigm. We're gonna, all right, so we're just gonna do that. Same as we did in the nominative plural. Okay. So, take a look at that. But that's basically what they did with to acción doro, if you see here. And let me get it focused a little better for you. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Very good. Now let me talk a little bit about why this circumflex over the omega and doron changes to an acute here. Okay. So let's see here. The reason for that is that you have a short vowel here in the nominative ending, right? And then you have an accent on that immediate next syllable, that long vowel, right? So it's going to try to extend. This is only a 2-syllable word. That's the point. So it's going to try and get a 3 more count out of it by accenting the length of that omega by making it a circumflex. Okay? So you have 1, 2 mores under the omega, and then 1 under the omicron. And that circumflex is highlighting those 2 mores under the omega to give us that full 3 sound, right? However, when we change that short ending to a long ending from on to u, for example, we now have 4 mores within a 2-syllable word. So 2 under the u and 2 under the omega. So we don't want to accent the 2 mores there under the omega, so we're going to go to an acute. That way we're maintaining that 3 more portion sensibility, that feeling, right? So that's why it does that. So that's one thing to note there. You have there, and this happens in a 2-syllable word typically. All right, if the accent appears on that noun, this word means gift. If that appears on the penult, right, second to last syllable, that is only in an only 2-syllable word, second and 2, right? It's going to go from circumflex to an acute when you lengthen that ending. Okay, so you see that over here also. But that's what's happening there. So do take note of that so it doesn't throw you in the future. Okay, let's look at paragraph 22 here. So agreement of verb. This is kind of interesting. A neutered plural subject regularly has its verb in the singular. Okay. So if a noun is plural, you're going to refer to that noun when there's a verb involved as singular. And they give us an example here. The gifts, that's not were worthy. They're saying the gifts is worthy. The gifts is worthy. That's what it literally says. Now, we talked about the word enemy. Now, even though enemy in Greek is masculine, it doesn't follow this rule. For us English speakers, it's a good example of how we think of a collective plural as singular, right? The enemy is coming, right? You would very rarely refer to a single person as the enemy. Your enemy almost always has the connotation in English as a collective group of people. But we don't say the enemy are coming, right? The soldiers are coming. The soldiers are coming is an explicit plural, right? So we use the plural verb in English, are. For enemy, it's implied plural, and so for our ears, we say the enemy is coming. That's not an exact one-to-one, but it is an example in English where we have a similar phenomenon happening as you see here. So when a neutered noun and its adjectives that describe that noun are in the plural, oftentimes the verb that goes with that neutered noun will be in the singular. So don't let that throw you, okay? Because normally we match singular verb to singular noun, plural verb to plural noun. So when you have a neutered form, just remember you can have a plural neutered, a nominative plural neutered with a singular verb, okay? So keep an eye out for that moving forward. Paragraph 23, dative of place where. You already know I don't really like these technical terms. This is just a way of categorizing what we're learning. Always remember that language is fluid and organic, and don't let these boxes be restrictive or make your vision too narrow. Basically, think of dative as just 2 or 4, right? And then use your prepositions accordingly. So here we have in the dative plane, right? In the plane. So in, if you look that up as a preposition, it will say preposition with dative, right? So if we go over to the next page here, we see that here. Proclitic just means that it doesn't have its own accent. It leans on the next word, leans forward, right? Inclines forward. But it's a preposition with dative, right? So when you see the preposition in, you know that it's going to require dative, okay? So you don't have to translate this as into the field or plane or in for the plane. Just translate it as in the plane. But just know that the Greeks would think it weird not to use any other case here, like a nominative, genitive, or accusative, to pair with that preposition in, right? And this is more in, like within, not, it's stationary in, which it's not movement into, which is also why we're using the dative here. And later on in a moment, you'll see that when you have a word like into, you're going to use the accusative, because remember, the accusative is the receiver of action or motion, right? Dative is more of a stationary kind of happening. All right, I hope I'm not confusing you with all that. All right, so in the field or in the plane, and then para to stratego, at the side of the general. Again, para, it will, okay, so they get, now para is a preposition here in your vocab. It's with genitive from the side of, right? Genitive things come out of it, of, there's of, right? And then dative by the side of. And then accusative is to the side of. So you could think of someone moving to the side of the general, the general is going to be in the accusative. If they're just standing there by the general is going to be in dative, right? If he's coming from the side of the general, it's going to be genitive coming out of, like generating from the general, right? So that para can take a case in anything, anything except nominative. All right. So when you learn these prepositions, remember which cases go with them and what the different nuanced meanings of those cases, right? So here we have para to stratego, at the side of the general. So we're using this dative. So again, the general is in the dative here, so by or at the side of the general, right? Okay. If you have questions on that, put those questions in the comments, and I'll help you out with those. All right. That's good. Let's look here. Accusative of place to which, another technical label of the accusative. So again, remember, the dative we were just talking about in the dative field or meta, right, or plane is what they call it. The accusative is receiving motion, right? So accusative of place to which. I think they also call this the accusative location or the locative accusative elsewhere. So the motion is going to be into the plane, right? So here we have a different preposition, eis, which is different from ein. So ein is in, that is within, more of a stationary thing. Eis is movement, like into. So eis is going to, we have it here in our vocabulary, is going to be with accusative, which makes sense because eis has motion and the accusative receives motion, right? So it's into. All right, so eis to pedion, into the plane, right? Yeah. Okay. And then we have here para ton strategon. Okay. And then that's going to be at the side of the general, or to the side of the general. You can't really move inside the general or into the general unless you're a sword or a lance or something like that. A spear, perhaps. But anyway, yeah, but if you're just an officer or soldier, and para ton strategon, you're going to the side of the general, maybe to receive instructions or commands or something like that, or to fight with him maybe. All right, but is that motion towards him, and that's signified by the accusative, right? Accusative of place to which. I don't care if you remember accusative of place to which, but I just remember the concept. There's motion involved with the accusative, and standing still is involved with the dative typically, okay? And then things are coming out of the genitive. Keep those generalities in your mind and you should be fine. But do remember, when you learn these prepositions here, remember the whole, so write out the whole meaning on your flashcards, okay? Make sure you're familiar with those. But don't just memorize them like a robot. Think about how it makes sense, like the genitive, dative, accusative, and the different nuances that typically go with each of those cases, all right? Just apply that generally and you should be safe. Okay, so that's that. Now, okay, so here we have, let's go through your vocab. We're basically done with the lesson for today, and that was pretty, I think, quick and painless. So note here that they're still not giving you the full dictionary or lexicon entry for adjectives yet, so I'm not gonna ask you to do that yet, okay? Because there's one irregularity that we haven't talked about yet before we get into that. So just write out the vocab as you see it. So delos, that is an adjective. And for now, we'll just say you can tell it's an adjective because it has no definite article, okay? And no genitive form. It's just delos, right? So that could be dele or delon, but we haven't learned that really yet. So just write on your flashcard for now, delos. Let me get a flashcard out here and I'll show you how to do it. All right. So you have delos. Okay. Now I use different colored pens for the accent because it's easy to overlook the accent, and that forces me to remember it better. So just write delos like that, right? And then you flip it over and write plain or evident, okay? That's how I do my flashcards. Plain, evident, and then delos. And you can go Greek to English and then English to Greek if you like. Okay. Now, what we have not talked about yet is the feminine and neutered endings. Now, I'm just showing you this for the future. So when you write these out on your flashcards, you want to leave room so that when you do learn how to do this for the feminine and neutered, which I alluded to earlier in this lesson, it's going to look like this. Okay. So you're going to have a feminine ending and a neutered ending. Now, I'm not asking you to do that right now because some words will have an alpha instead of an eta, and we've not talked about why that is so. So just leave enough space here to add these feminine and neutered endings later. But to just know that delos, or any word without a definite article in your vocab list right now, is an adjective. I hope that makes sense. Okay? So we have your preposition here, conjunction, but, and, dendron, there's your noun, right? Neutered noun, to, and then on in the nominative, u is your genitive. Delos, here's your adjective there. And then doron, gift, noun, neutered noun. And ace, we talked about that, preposition. In preposition, we talked about that. Para, preposition, we talked about that. Pedion, we use this in our sample. All right, you're familiar with that noun. Neutered noun. Stadion, neutered noun. That's where we get our word stadium from. So, 600 feet. Okay. Exercises here. The exercises, what I want you to do, they're saying what is the probable use of the word, what probable use of the word is denoted by the heavy type endings. Okay. What I'm going to ask you to do is not to tell me this is going to be accusative of place to which, or this is going to be dative of place where. I just want you to parse the word. So we'll take pediu, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I want you to parse and tell me all the possible parsings. Okay, so let me just spell this out for you. So we have pediu. Okay. And your accent is right there. So it comes from pedion, u to. So it is a noun, and it can only be one case. It can only be one thing. And it's going to be, so this is parsing. Parsing means to cut up. So we're going to take the components of this word and parse them. So there's your case, genitive. It is singular, that's your number. And then your gender is neutered. All right? So if you know that that is of the singular field and it's neutered, you are good. You're going to be fine reading Greek if you know that's what it is. Okay? You don't have to give me some fancy technical use of this. All right, just parse it for me, and that's what we'll do. Let me find one a little more confusing. Action. Okay. I'm not trying to steal your thunder here, by the way. So, action. Okay, now this one, remember, in the neutered, the nominative and accusative are the same. And also remember that the accusative singular is the same as the masculine. Now, action is an adjective, so we have a few possibilities here. Okay, so let's list them out. It could be nominative, singular, neutered, right? So remember our endings from here, right? It could be nominative, singular, and neutered, on. Okay? And it could be, as you know, the nominative and accusative are the same, so it could also be accusative, singular, and neutered. Okay? But depending on the noun that is coupled with this adjective, action, it could be accusative, singular, masculine. Okay? So if we take our chart here, and that we wrote out earlier, let me zoom out a little bit. So we have the ending axion, on. So it could be here, could be that on, it could be that on, or it could be that on. Okay? And so accusative, singular, masculine, accusative, singular, neutered, and nominative, singular, neutered. Okay, and that on does not appear anywhere else in that chart. So those are the only possibilities for that word. So we have 3 possibilities for action. Okay, so go ahead and do that for that section. You still have 4 more words you can do on your own without me stealing your thunder. Okay, and then section B, let's see here. We can get the camera to cooperate with us here. Okay. All right, so you're just translating here as usual, and I will provide you the answers to those on Patreon. Patreon is a $10 a month subscription, and you get all the answers to these exercises. Okay, and then that continues on the other side. And then here we have done this before. You are just providing the correct ending, right? Or excuse me, here they want a linking verb. Now remember, okay, I'm not going to tell you the answer or give you an example here because I want you to be able to enjoy figuring this out on your own. They want you to put a linking verb here, right? So the trees, something small, okay? So it's a neutered and it's plural, and they want a linking verb, okay? So you're going to find the answer to that section 22, okay? That's all I'll tell you on that. Let's see here. I have this X'd out. Go ahead and do section D also. So my eraser's not working very good. Do section D also. So write the English. They give you the English. Write it out in Greek. Okay. So the stones were beautiful. How would we write that out? I'll do the first one for you. English to Latin or English to Greek is always a little more difficult. So you have the stones were beautiful. So let's say the stones were beautiful. Okay. So you're going to have, we want plural stones. Lithos is plural. Or excuse me, lithos is masculine. So let's see here. So the stone, so we need hoi. Okay. Lithoi. Okay. And then beautiful. So we're going to say, the stones were beautiful. Yeah, we're going to do that this way. So we're going to say kaloi. And then our linking verb is going to be, now this is masculine, so it's going to match plural verb with the plural subject, right? The stones. So we're going to say a son. Right, the stones, they were beautiful, kaloi. Okay. All right, that is good. Go ahead and tackle that, and I'll have the answers up on Patreon shortly. Thank you, and I will see you next week.